Over the last 2 Aprils, we've cut apart the top 3 Yeezy boots. So now we're left with the question, are these real boots or are they just strictly fashion? So we're gonna go through each of these boots and give it a verdict. Is it a boot or is it a fashion? A fashion? Fashion. This is coffee that has hints of whiskey flavor in it. And if you haven't tried it, it might be time to up your coffee game, give your palate a new flavor with a little bit of whiskey flavor without the actual alcohol. Because the way they make this is they take old whiskey barrels, throw these beans in it, and the beans absorb the flavor. You guys clearly like this stuff. That's the only reason sponsors come back, is if they resonate with you, you guys buy them, they keep sponsoring videos. So if you haven't tried this, give it a try. Father's Day is right around the corner, and they have a lot of unique combo boxes, so you can try not just their whiskey flavored coffee, but they also have other stuff. So the combo box has 4 bags of coffee, a bourbon barrel aged, a rye barrel aged, a single origin Guatemala, and a single origin Ethiopia. So you get the whiskey and you get the normal coffee, and you save a little bit of money because it's only $89 rather than buying all of them, which is just about $100. So you save $10. So check out the Morning Jam. They've been a great sponsor for the channel. You guys love them. We love them in the shop. Every time I walk in the shop in the morning, it smells like whiskey, leather, and coffee. What more could you ask for? So check them out below. So first up is the Yeezy 950. It weighs 1 pound, 15 ounces, retailed for a steep $585 and was released in 2015 and was made in China. And the good aspects of this, and we just posted this video, so if you haven't seen the full deep dive, go check that out. There's not a whole lot of good here, honestly, because the majority of the part of the boot that matters is low quality, but the parts that don't matter seem to be high quality, like the ballistic nylon. Because ballistic nylon has this really cool history by being like bulletproof vests for paratroopers, and like the actual ballistic nylon isn't this type of nylon, but it's the type of weave. It's really interesting. The other thing I like is that this ballistic nylon is backed by a really thick leather. So that's why you get this structured and really rigid upper that doesn't just collapse. And then I also love the fact that it's lined in a real canvas. So the upper is really high quality. Even like the lace keeper is a nice thick layer of leather. But then we get to the bad, and this is where the whole thing falls apart because it's not waterproof, and basically everything on the inside is from a $200 boot, $150 boot, because you have chunks of foam instead of injected foam. It's just fiberboard compared to the more expensive brands, and boots in the $500 price range always have leather. And it's not that fiberboard's bad, but it is for $585. And even the outsole, you have like these really tight lugs. So good luck getting mud and snow out of these lugs, especially for a winter or like rain boot. You think that the lugs would be a little bit more appropriate. And I understand that these are for style and they're fashion boots, is what most people say, but why wouldn't you want your expensive luxury products to be as good and high quality as possible, especially when you're paying $585? So is the 950 a boot? Well, if we rank it on the sneaker, snoot, bootish, or boot scale, honestly, this is more like bootish. It's definitely not a full boot, but it's a little bit closer to a boot than a sneaker. And then do I actually like this boot personally? Not even necessarily would I wear it. Do I like this boot? Did I come away from the video feeling like it was a well-designed, well-executed project? I do like it, but if it was high quality, I would love it. So it's kind of a bummer that they went the cheap route on some of the materials. Next, let's look at the Yeezy 750, retailed for $350, released in 2016, and it's also made in China. And the good of this boot slash shoe, because most people would maybe consider this a shoe, but it's so stinking tall. It's even taller than the desert boot. I think it's worthy of being categorized as a boot to see if it's a real boot. The things I like about it is it's a lot of leather. There's a lot of good materials. It's even the toe, it's a double layer. And this is one of the very first Yeezys that Kanye did. And it seems like the first batch of things were a lot higher quality. Like he had a lot more control and was able to push quality, because the quality in the 750 compared to the 950 is night and day difference. And even though I don't love zippers on boots, at least it was a YKK zipper. It's made in the United States. It's kind of the gold standard for quality zippers. I liked the fact that you get boost foam inside of a boot. I like the fact that it's a simplistic design that echoes a little bit of the 350 design, but a higher quality, more durable version. And the thing that I love most about this boot is it has a dedicated leather counter cover. If you watch this channel, you know how rare that is and how essential that is to the longevity of any footwear. So the fact that this boot had that really blew me away, and everything throughout this whole boot was just well designed. There's not a whole lot to point to that isn't that great for what it is. But the bad of this boot is, even though it has a lot of leather, it's not the highest quality leather. And even though I love the zippers, in my opinion, zippers do not belong in boots because they just fall apart. And other than that, there's not a whole lot to point to for negatives of this boot aside from the price point and some of these other things and the Yeezy, the Kanye stuff going on. But I honestly, when I did this video, I kind of walked away being like, dang, this is a high quality Yeezy. Like if this is how all Yeezys are, maybe there's a reason they're so popular. But is the 750 a boot? Well, if we rank it on the scale, it's honestly a little bit closer to a boot functionally and material-wise than the 950s, but because of the aesthetic and because of how it's all laid out and the actual functionality of some of the materials, I would say this is closer to a snoot. Do I like this sneaker? Do I think it's well executed and a good product? I think it is. I think it's a really unique design. It has high quality materials. It's built really well. And every other Yeezy that we've compared it to, it's hard to say that this one isn't the best one. You know, we'll have to really look at it. Maybe we'll do like a top 10 Yeezys. But to me, I think this was done well. And then to the final boot contender, the Yeezy Desert Boot retailed for $200, was released in 2019 and was made in India. And the good of this shoe is that it is a fairly comfortable shoe because you have a nice Ortholite insole that we just tested in this video because I can't remember what it was. And there is some substantial differences between an Ortholite and a really cheap Yeezy insole. I like that it is pretty soft and squishy throughout this sole construction. You know, it's a little bit higher quality than the blocks of foam in the 950s. It has a composite shank, a decently thick outsole, even though you have like quite a few voids that if this was a real boot, you'd hope that those would be filled in. And it has some nubuck leather. Not a lot of nubuck leather, but it is a little bit here and there, which, you know, the reason nubuck's a good leather, it has that grain pattern at the top that holds all those loose suede fibers together, which brings us to the bad. The suede. Suede is not necessarily bad, but it can be for a boot application. If you're really relying on this boot for work or for durability, suede just isn't as durable as nubuck and full grain leather and the higher quality leathers. It's not the most puncture resistant boot. It didn't perform great for a military inspired boot. And maybe the thing I hate most about this is it's a decent boot, but then you have this weird like hard line in the foam. It's not skived down, so you end up with this high pressure point halfway between your heel, because you can see how it comes right between that counter cover. So when you put these boots on, they're not comfortable because they didn't spend the time in the design process to make sure that foam was either high enough that it didn't hit your ankle or low enough that it covered your whole ankle. Instead, it's right in the middle and it's quite uncomfortable. And another huge mistake that I almost forgot about is this tongue is a poorly designed tongue. It's built more like a sneaker. See how you can just get sand, water, anything inside your boot if you wear it anywhere aside from the streets because it's not gusseted at all. And speaking of sand, sand also tends to get trapped in this spacer mesh and it just absorbs water like crazy. It seeps right into the center of the boot because there's no tongue connection anywhere. But is the Yeezy Desert Boot a boot? Well, if we look at everything, functionally, it does not perform very well like a boot. Material-wise, some of it's like a boot, but then you got the big cavities and everything. So once again, I think this is boot-ish. It's closer to a boot, and a cheap boot at that, but some of the bad design elements knock it out of the boot category. So does Yeezy make boots? Not really. They make fashion, or they made fashion. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I still think it's vital information because if you're gonna be spending hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on these boots or shoes, you wanna know exactly what you're getting. You don't wanna leave it up to hype and hearsay to make decisions for you, expecting a boot, and then you actually get a snoot. So Yeezy does not make boots. And I don't think they ever will because I don't think Yeezy's ever coming back. So let me know what you guys think and rank them for me on this scale because I'm actually curious what you guys think. Plus it's gonna help these videos out because with the Yeezy content, we need a little bit of help because of YouTube's algorithm and all the chaos that happened after we ordered all these boots and shoes. So thank you guys so much for your support. See ya.